There's a number of articles that say if your phone is sitting on the desk at any given time while you're trying to do something else, you have a mental RAM load that is being used by that,
Wow.
and it is pulling your attention away.
Hey, what's going on, my fellow future millionaires? Welcome to another episode of the Millionaire University podcast. In case you can't tell, Professor Williams has a cold today, but the show must go on. For today's lesson, we will be talking about productivity. They say that knowledge is power, but that's only true if you do something with it. So learning and applying productivity skills will be key in helping you reach your business and life goals. Today, I'm joined by the one and only Erik Fisher, host of the Beyond the To-Do List podcast, where for the past 11 years, he has interviewed hundreds of productivity experts on how they get crap done while keeping their sanity. Now, not only did I have a cold during this interview, but I also forgot to turn on my microphone. Oopsies. But I think it adds character, so we're good. Considering perfection is the enemy to success, I think we're doing pretty amazing over here. Erik is someone that I've actually known about and followed ever since 2013 when I started my very first podcast. And he's just a super genuine, down-to-earth, cool dude. So I hope you enjoy this interview as much as I did. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I give you the one and only Professor Productivity himself, Erik Fisher.
I got started with podcasting and productivity, for that matter, kind of all in the same summer, I guess you would call it. It was summer of 2005, and I'm sitting in a cubicle doing data entry at a university, which was my alma mater. I had stuck around after graduating because there was a girl. And I had to, see about her, right? Kind of like the end of Good Will Hunting. I got to go
Yep.
see about a girl. And so she still had a year left, and I thought, well, I'm going to get a job here in town, and then slowly moved up, and we got married, and we didn't have any kids yet. But that summer, or that January 2005, we had our first girl, our first daughter, our first kid, and she was born in January, but she was due in March, so she was like 8 weeks, 10 weeks early. So that was a little scary, little weird, but working data entry that summer 2005, kind of trying to get sleep as much as I can. And one of the things that would keep me going was listening to music on iTunes, as it was called at the time, on the Dell computer that was a CRT monitor, and just rocking away.
Crazy.
I'd put my headphones on and just rock it out doing data entry, and it was fine. And then up pops iTunes has an update. And I'm like, well, then I'm going to go take a bathroom break and refresh my coffee. And I do. So I click go and I do the round, and I come back and I sit down and it's ready. And I go to click over to one of my playlists on the sidebar, and I notice there's this new thing there called podcasts. This is brand new. First time in anything with Apple. Summer of 2005. Yeah. So I click that, and I'm like, "What is this?" I know what an iPod is, and I know what a broadcast is, and suddenly it hits me. This is like TiVo for radio.
Mm.
It's playing, and you can pause and start and stop, and I'm like, "This is genius. This is amazing." And it was limited, what was there at the time, but some of the, NPR type stuff was already in there, and a few other things. And I just got hooked instantly. And I said, I'm going to do one of these, because I was a
That's awesome.
communications major in college. And I also had done like, what's it called? Internships at a radio station and things like that. So anyway, fast forward a little bit. I'm an avid listener. I'm searching for things. I'm looking it up. I'm Googling when I'm in my downtime. And I get connected with some different podcasters that are already doing like podcasts about the TV show Lost, for example, at the time, which was huge. Right. And kind of get into their community. And so then come 2007, a friend of mine and we said, all right, let's do this. But what do we want to do? And we did kind of like a late night talk show kind of a thing. But, we review movies and music. It was two guys chatting. We were making up funny, like almost jokes and inside skits and things like that. And we did it all that year. At the end of that year, Apple put out a list for the first time, top 10 new comedy podcasts. And we were in it.
No
A lot of
way.
people don't know this, right? So that was something that I was doing for a while there, and and then I was guest hosting Cliff and I created a show called Social Media Serenity,
Oh,
where we were
wow.
talking about doing social media without going crazy. This was early days, and that ended in January 2011. And at that point, um, no, January 2012. Sorry, and then uh, I was like, well, this is my opportunity. I can do a solo show. And so it took about 6 months, 8 months, August 2012. I started Beyond the To Do List. And it's been going now for 11 years at the time of this conversation.
Crazy, man. I didn't listen to my first podcast until 2013, which was the same year that I started one. So it blows my mind. I don't think I knew podcasts were around in 2000, whatever year you listened to your first one. That's
Yeah,
wild.
podcasts have grown exponentially. Like people, when people hear that, like I did a well, one thing, people get shocked when they hear I started Beyond the To-Do List in
Totally.
2012. They're like, "Whoa!" And then I'm like, "Yeah, but I did one. I was co-hosting on this for this window of time, and then like 2007, and I've been listening since 2005." And they're like,
Wow.
"Wait, it existed then?" And I'm like, "Yes, actually, it even predates that by like 02, 03, 04, as it was just not firm in kind of any ecosystem at the time. It was very, CB radio type stuff at the
Crazy.
time.
What did you graduate in?
Communications,
Okay.
bachelor's of communications.
And then did you like have a job out of college or what?
Honestly, out of the gate, it was like the idea. The idea was, a friend of mine and we were going to move out to Hollywood and try to do script writing.
Mm,
That was the plan, so to speak.
wow.
He lived local, and we moved in with his parents on the other side of the house and had our apartment there, and worked. I was working maintenance on the university campus just to do something and
Yeah.
build up cash flow, and then worked in the movie theater as well, and then started looking for different positions, found an entry level kind of position, and then slowly made my way up into the adult education world, where they were recruiting students for their masters and things, which I eventually then moved into and outperformed everybody. But like, this was one step before that, I think. So
So you did a podcast on social media. So how
yes.
did you learn about, you had to have known about social media.
Well, that was the thing, is like I was playing around with it. I had
Did
time
it
in my
even
cubicle.
exist back then? I'm
It
what did
early days, like Facebook first rolled out to non-college students
Oh
in the
yeah.
year of '07, something like that,
Wow.
I think. And so that's when I started playing with that, and Twitter had shown up as
Mm,
well. Uh, YouTube was in its infancy. Obviously, we're years ahead of Instagram at that point.
wow.
I think that was like 2010, 11, something like that. But the cool thing is that the way that I found my way into marketing and social media as part of my day job was, I was doing social media research and promotion for the podcasts that I was on, and my one of the assistant vice presidents said, "Hey, we know that you know how to do social media because you're doing it for your show and things like that. We'd love to see, we need to be doing that here at the university. What if we give you, like, I don't know, 10 hours out of your entire work week where you work on that, like kind of investigate, consult, research, et cetera, what that would look like." And this was, summer of, I think, 2010. And I said,
Wow.
"Yeah, that sounds great." And so then by January of 2011, they said, "Hey, we're going to create a position for you, social media manager." And
Wow.
I moved out of enrollment into social media management and marketing, and was there for another 3 years, I think, plus, until Social Media Examiner out in San Diego snapped me up and said, "Hey, we need somebody who's doing what you do for the school for us. Want to talk?" And I said, "Yes."
Okay. So let's dive into productivity. How many interviews have you done on Beyond the To-Do List?
Oh gosh. Well, let me put it this way. There's over 500 episodes. So
Wow.
something like, I don't know, some of them I've republished just as better, best of episodes, but not that many. So, 450 plus
Wow. Okay.
conversations.
About productivity. So
Yes.
let's hear it. What are your best productivity? I don't even know what word to use.
Yeah. Let's
Productivity
see.
tips, tricks, secrets, right? All the
Yeah.
buzzwords.
Oh gosh, there's lots of different directions. I'll throw a few out that are smaller first, but then we can dive into a little bit bigger ones. Like, for example, the David Allen 2 minute rule, where if something comes to mind and it's going to take less than 2 minutes,
Mm.
just do it, because otherwise you're taking the time to funnel it into a system
Mhm.
that then it'll come up later, and it may not be time, you may not have that time available then to do it then. But if you have it now, great. However, there's also great opportunity in creating like half-hour chunks of time on your calendar where you can park those 2-minute things and rapid fire through them. Like, okay,
Yeah.
there's that 2-minute email, there's that 2-minute phone call. You just check them off, check, 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 check in that half hour, and you're done. And sometimes it doesn't even take the whole half hour. So you've got a little bit of extra margin there. So that's the 2-minute rule. Pomodoro technique is another one that I really love. Pomodoro is the Italian word for tomato. The guy that created the technique, he was using a kitchen timer that was shaped like a tomato, and he would turn it for 25 minutes, and then he would take a 5-minute break. I've also heard 25-minute and like a 15-minute break, or 20 minutes and then a 10-minute break, or different variations of that. But essentially it's kind of like when you go to the gym, where you go and
Mhm.
you do a set of certain amount of reps, this machine, one set of 10 reps, and then you move on to
Yeah.
the next machine, and you keep rotating through different things. This is kind of like that, but you do 10, 15, 25 minutes, take a 5-10 minute break, and repeat until you get through about 3 of them. Then you take a longer break.
Mm.
And this kind of helps some of us ADHD people
Yep. Yep, that's me.
focus on something, right? You get
Yep.
to focus on something for a certain amount of time, make a certain amount of progress on it, know that a break is coming. It comes, you stand up, you refresh, you get a drink of water, you do all those different things, whatever, sit back down, do another chunk, and it continues to give you sustained momentum, if you will.
It's so interesting because my wife is every once in a while, like, I'll just like, "I gotta get up. I gotta," and she's like, "Why? Like, why?" Like, "I gotta get out, walk around, get a drink of water, grab a little snack, whatever."
Yeah.
I'm like, "It just helps me, like, keep going." Um,
Yep.
so are there time periods? I mean, I didn't like 15. I thought it was more like work for an hour, then take a 5-minute break. I didn't know it was like 15, 20
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, no, it's well, and here's the thing. I don't know if anybody that's listening is old enough to remember this, but there was this tape and like audio cassette slash video cassette thing that came out when I was young, called "Where There's a Will, There's an A,"
Oh, yeah, my parents had that.
right?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
My dad bought it for me, and like I listened to it and I went through the manual, and there was this one section that this is what the Pomodoro technique reminds me of, where and I've been drilling this into my daughter now, what's like flashcards for her different things for as she's prepping to go to college,
Mhm.
is when you study, don't study for an hour.
Mm.
Go through your flashcards for 10
Yeah,
minutes. And your attention span then doesn't have the ability to swoop all the way down to the bottom and then back up.
yeah.
It swoops down a little bit
Mm.
and a little bit. And so you're giving yourself the principles there, that it's basically you're not dipping so low into your energy that your return on focus, your return on time and investment is waning so much that you're just wasting the time. It's kind of like, no 2 hours are created equal. Sure, they're the same length of time, but perception of how fast that time passes is one thing. And the other is, what time of day and what time of energy level are you at makes a huge difference. 1 to 2 a.m. and getting something done then, or 1 to 2 p.m. are very different hours.
Totally.
They're the same length of time, but use them very differently,
Yeah,
because you want to use them for the optimized thing that you can.
yeah. Okay, I love that.
So,
Okay, this is good. Good stuff.
yeah. Limiting multitasking. Again, some of these are very obvious, but we need to be reminded of them. One of the things is like my phone is not sitting here on the desk.
Mine either.
Yeah. So there's a
Check.
there's a number of articles that say if your phone is sitting on the desk at any given time while you're trying to do something else, you have a mental RAM load that is being used by that,
Wow.
and it is pulling your attention away because you're wondering if that's going to ding or buzz, or
Totally.
if there's something there. Can you just flip it up and flip it? Okay, nothing. Oh wait, no, no, nothing. Oh wait, what? Oh no. And it just you keep doing that, and instead you have to get it out of the way. One of the things that I've found is, again, by using Pomodoro, you get that kind of, hey, in my 5-minute break I get to check something real quick. Cool. And you can even do it longer if you when you get through a full Pomodoro cycle of like 3 reps, or 3 sets, I should say. But one of the other things that's cool that you can do is you could leave analog tools to capture something if you want to. Having a legal pad and a pen, and you pull it over while I'm working. Oh, I'm talking to you, and I just realized, oh crap, I haven't texted my friend about the thing we're doing tonight to remind him of such and such. Well, I pull that over and it's like, text Todd about tonight,
Mm.
and then slide it back away. And you're a parent, a lot of people are parents, they can attest, those thoughts that pull up are kind of like toddlers. They're like, hey, I need your attention now. Hey, they don't know better, but
Totally.
you do. They don't know that as long as you don't, I mean, again, sometimes they throw a fit, but whatever. But this is teaching them. This is weaning them off of having to have your constant attention. And instead, if you appease them by saying, I hear you, I see that request, and as soon as I'm done with this, yes, we'll deal with that. And so by them not hearing a no, but a yes in a moment, then when you get to it, like, it trains them, which is, it's really you're
Yeah.
training. You're training the child
Totally.
in
Yeah.
yourself, the toddler in
Yeah.
yourself, right? By training yourself and your thoughts, that when those distractions come up, oh, he's not mad at me. I'm not mad at myself.
Hmm.
All those good things. Like, it's like, oh, okay. So it's okay to have those. But you know what? If I just let him get his stuff done, then I can bring the stuff up when he's done.
Totally.
Again, I don't think we ever get rid of it's I mean, I'm kind of talking like meditation here. The thoughts come, you acknowledge the
Yep.
thought, you let it go away, but you're, in this case, you're capturing it because you're productive.
Yeah. Yep.
So so that's another way to deal with focus, distractions, limiting your multitasking. Those are huge things.
I love it.
One of the other biggest things that I've found is sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is huge. I even just a half an hour ago, I was looking for something and I found an article, Scientific American. I need to read it, but the headline grabbed me because it said that basically even one lousy night's sleep starts to make you act like you're effectively drunk
Hmm.
all day. And I'm like, I believe it.
Oh,
I've been
totally.
there many times. Again, us parents know the struggle is real.
Yeah.
And so I have found that anything that I can do to limit the brightness. Now in the summer, it's different because the sun is out much later in the day and up earlier, which is great because that gets you started faster.
Hmm.
But having any kind of rhythms, routines, rituals for the evening that can set your evening up to calm and collect and reflect and different things there, then you can get good sleep. You want to get it cooler. You want to do, nothing in your bed other than what it's for, which, there's one activity and then there's another that's called sleep. And that's about that's about it. And that's really what it's supposed to, I mean, if you're reading in bed, maybe that's okay,
Yeah.
but definitely not using technology.
Yeah.
I mean, I try not to do that at all.
Mm.
So, and then, certain supplements are and definitely exercise helps get your, I mean, every time I wear my Apple Watch to sleep so
Okay.
that it tracks my sleep.
Yeah.
And then I can kind of see, oh, you woke up in the middle of the night a couple different times. And I didn't even know it, but I did.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's like, and it shows like, well, that day you didn't exercise. Oh,
Oh,
so
interesting.
having more data there helps.
Wow.
But
So
yeah, it's
no
and
technology. You don't use technology at all in your bed. That's impressive. Do you
try
once
not
again
to.
just put your phone away? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I put the phone on a charger in a different room
okay.
that's not too far away, but like, I'm in do not disturb mode on the watch. Other than the sleep tracking on the watch, one of the other reasons I started using it was make it mute. No, I don't do noise on it at all.
Yeah.
And then it's got the vibrate alarm,
Mm.
which then doesn't wake my wife up. Now, on the other
Mm.
hand, hers wakes me up, but I'm usually up before her anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, that's okay. You can get
So
woken up. She can't get woken up.
right. Yeah, yeah.
That's trouble.
And then one other thing with sleep, and Michael Hyatt got me hooked on this years ago, and then there have been some tweaks to it. Taking a nap. Like,
Yeah, I've
you don't
heard
have
you
to
talk
fall
about that.
asleep. You just need to shut your brain off, like
Yeah.
20 minutes, even if you don't fall asleep. If you don't enter into an actual sleep cycle, which you don't really want to do, because at that point, if you get to like 45, 50 minutes and you
Yeah.
start to go down into any kind of sleep cycle, when you wake back up, you're groggy
Yeah.
for a
Right.
while.
Yeah.
But so I set mine for like 35 or 4. I think I set it for 40 minutes
Yeah.
because that gives me 5 to 10 minutes of leeway in terms of, okay, I haven't fallen asleep just yet. Gives me about 20 minutes, and then it'll go off on my wrist and wake me up. Some days it doesn't happen at all. Other days, And again, certain times I'm able to make it happen. Often, it happens.
Yeah.
Days that it happens, great. Days that I try, but even if it doesn't happen fully, even just stopping for a little bit
Hmm.
and letting the brain reset and stopping thinking and just laying there with my eyes closed, even if I don't fall asleep or anything at all, the brain just resets and I pop back up. And then there's variations you can do on this, like a nappuccino, where you do a shot of espresso, then lay down. It takes 20 minutes plus for the caffeine to hit your bloodstream.
Uh-huh.
And if you lay down for that 20 minutes, you're kind of getting a nap and a caffeine boost.
Yeah.
And then you pop back up and you're like,
You're
yeah,
like
let's do
ready
this.
to go. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I heard you talk about that on the podcast. Listened to you last night.
Yeah.
But I probably should have
So
listened to it last night because
so that's some things. I know there's a couple other things, like you can theme your days and even theme like certain times of day, because again, energy management is what kind of we're getting at here with the whole sleep thing. But instead of just taking breaks, take mindful breaks. Do some meditation or some unplugging and recharging during that time. Um, Themed days or themed times of days is specific times of the day you're better at doing certain things, and this is going to vary from person to person. You do a time journal and you say, okay, I did this at this time of day.
yeah,
How did I feel? Those kind of things. You have to do the homework on
yeah,
this for a good week or two, but you will find that with that data, you're like, you know, I got to stop doing like podcast interviews at 12, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, right after lunch, because I'm tired
yeah,
from having just eaten.
yeah,
And again, maybe that means you adjust your diet
yeah,
for that. So you're not, scarfing down pasta before the conversation. Or maybe it means you do it at 10 a.m. when you're still way more awake for the day.
yeah,
Things like that. And then let's see, I'm trying to think of something else here. Basically just trying to single task as much as possible. Like we talked about multitasking, but single tasking, getting in the zone. This is where the Cal Newport focus or deep work and
hmm.
focus come into play as well.
I love this, man. It's interesting because it does seem like not long ago it was all about sleep as little as possible, work till your eyes bleed. You know what I mean? Like just go, go, go. And I think people are realizing that that's not productivity, right?
Well, it's like driving, it's like going on a road trip and you're running on fumes. How far are you going to really get? You can't, again, I don't really ascribe to the whole hustle culture mentality,
Yeah,
like
me
where
either.
you just got to, go, 90 miles an hour at all times. No, because certain times require certain amounts of intention and attention.
Uh-huh.
And so you have to be fueled up, you have to be rested, you have to have your full mind and clarity there. I mean, again, when you're feeling sick, your mind, you're depleted and you know
Yep.
that. And so that's also part of it, is just trying to,
Yeah.
fuel your body as much as possible. So again, I mean, there are seasons in life and in projects and in work and in family, and it's like, as long as you have all agreed, whoever's involved in the decision making
Yep.
process, as long as you've all agreed on what's going to happen here, waking up at 5 and working on something for an hour or two, because that's the only time you can do it. Because
Yeah.
staying up late, that same, if you were to stay up 2 extra hours
Yeah.
versus getting up 2 hours earlier, based on your energy and your focus, you can get way more done in one of those hours.
Yeah. Okay. So you have an 18-year-old. You have two kids?
Yes. So then my daughter's 18, going off to college. My son has just started sixth grade. So
Crazy.
he's about to turn 12. So basically, on the front end, we had an only child,
Yeah.
and now she's leaving, and we're going to
Wow.
get another only child
Wow.
scenario.
So it's one thing talking to people who are sometimes like trying to do too much and cram all this stuff in a day. What do you say to someone who needs like motivation and they got to get stuff done?
You look for the quick wins. I love David Allen's concept of the brain dump. I will often go to a coffee shop and just get out of the house, change the scenery, different mood, different music, different lighting, different amount of people, whatever. Change it up to what's not normal and try to unplug, sit down, and then start to just write out everything you can think of that's on your mind. If it's
Yeah.
something to do, if it's something in the future, if it's 5 years out, or if it's something you want in a year, 6 months, something you need to do today, tomorrow, yesterday, because you forgot.
Yep.
You write all those things down and you just start to write them down and you dump it all out of your brain and getting it out of your head and into something where you, I mean, again, legal pad and a pen is great for me because then I'm not staring at a screen,
Mm-hmm.
and I can process it and I can see it. I can circle different things. I can then rip that page off and then start over and start listing them off in priority and crossing them off on the other one and doing that. But anyway, getting those things all out of your head, first off, getting kind of a clarity, a moment of clarity, then deciding, okay, are there any of these that are like small or quick wins,
Yeah.
or asking the question, what's the one next step
Yeah.
for me to do something on any of these? Because if it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to come up with an example, buy a new car, since
Yeah.
I turned out the window and saw my car. It's like, buy a new car. And it's like, okay, well, step one is, can I sell the old one first?
Yeah,
What
right.
needs to be done?
Totally.
So do an inventory on what the old one is in terms of trade in or selling it to somebody else, et cetera, et cetera. Estimate how much do you think that's going to be? Is it a 2-minute task? Is it a 5-minute task? You can take a half hour to like, or are you going to just be like, no, I'm going to just take a half hour and search Carvana or some of these other sites and see what's out there. And if there's nothing out there, not worry about it. But you get to make that one next decision real quick, or at least identify it, because
Yeah.
most of the time we don't start anything because we don't know how many. It's an amorphous blob of vagueness of a
Yeah.
project, and we don't know what's involved. But if we can sit and pick one thing and start to list it off, this is again, this has been talking with my daughter about college. It's like, you get this thing called a syllabus,
Yep.
and it lists off all the requirements to
Yeah.
get that best grade out of that thing, and it lists it off in time from start to finish of the class and all that kind of stuff. It's your
Yep.
checklist. And you get your chance to ask all the questions. That's what you're doing,
Yeah.
but like with your life,
Yeah.
and not just with like one aspect, with like all of them. And I know that can be, what I'm saying here is, could be very overwhelming, but like, you know what? It's probably not. It's actually, by doing some of this homework, you then know where the status is on a lot of this stuff, and even getting it out of your head, and you say, oh, you know what? Let's take the car example again. No, you know what? I looked at the car, it's still way under on miles, still works really well, just these tune up, oil change, etc. Tires, new tires,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good to go for another 2 years plus at least, or more.
Yeah.
And then I can either hand it to a kid or sell it then, etc. But by knowing that data,
Yep.
you then, it's not this again amorphous blob of, I don't know what I'm doing with my car, I don't know what the status is, I gotta make a decision. You don't know what decisions to make because you don't know what the questions are.
Yeah.
But by actually taking 5-10 minutes and then knowing what status it is, then you know what questions you need to ask yourself, slash what task list of 5-10 things that are, and you can estimate how long those are going to take. You can do all that and be in a much better place clarity wise. And that's just one thing. But by knowing that one thing and feeling good about it, you've got that satisfaction of a job well done, and that momentum that you can carry into other things. Somebody said discipline begets discipline
Mm-hmm.
on the show years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and that has stuck with me for so long. Doing one thing right kind of spills over into the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing.
Yeah.
So you just got to start.
Yeah. I love that. And that is kind of like going to the gym. How you mentioned, it's like when you work out, you want to keep working out, right? You're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is, I like this, right? So
That endorphin rush
yeah.
carries over
Yep.
to better sleep, which then carries over into, I
Yes.
feel better, and I want to eat better, and I want to do more
Yep.
activity, and I want to, and then you sleep better, and so on, and it's a flywheel.
Yeah. All right. Any final major productivity thoughts you have before we transition here?
I think it's a good start. I think we've given a lot of
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
So
I love it. I love it. That was good.
Let's give it up for Erik Fisher. I don't know about you guys, but I think I'm going to be taking a lot more breaks and naps from here on out. This was actually only the first half of a 2-part interview that Erik and I did. In the second half of our interview, we geek out about all things podcasting.
I would join that one because it's all just podcasters.
Awesome.
It's like our own private Slack for
Yeah.
podcasters.
So if you've ever thought about starting your own podcast, that is an episode that you will not want to miss. In closing, I want to share a quick quote I recently came across from Stephen R. Covey. It says, "I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions." What decisions will you make today and this week that will affect the person that you become and the business and life that you have tomorrow and in the future? It really doesn't matter where you've been. It only matters where you're going. And that choice is 100% up to you. We'll be here to support you, but we can't do it for you. So figure out where it is that you want to go and keep taking that consistent and persistent, effective action towards those goals. And you won't be disappointed with where you get. Until next time, this is your Chief Money Making Officer, Professor Williams, signing off. Class dismissed.